So as we continue on in this series, I've heard from so many that our series, Building a Marriage That Works, has been very helpful. It's been good for marriages. People are maybe hearing for the first time or being reminded that many times a marriage is going to take not only work, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I've talked to people and they're saying, hey, this has led to some helpful discussions and using the different tools, the biblical knowledge and things we've been talking about. So that's an amazing thing. That's why we're having this type of very specific series. One of the things I want to remind us of is that the Bible, as we've said every week, the Bible is a great marriage tool. Through this series, we've been looking at this tool called the Bible and how we're to be using it to understand creation is by God, male and female, created equal but very different. And to understand that this is God's design when the two become one. For many of us, it's just this, it's a theological statement, right? That God has made male and female. And if they choose to come together, two is one. That's why we are so different. Last week we looked at the idea of how God has wired us up, men and women, love and respect, and how that plays out. We've looked at the tools of sacrifice and selflessness. And even as we go through today, as we talk about reaching and meeting each other's needs for different styles of love, you will continually see that as we're learning some very practical things, it is all fashioned by the idea of we have to be sacrificial like Christ. We have to love and serve in a selfless way just like Christ. So it has been the Bible, but the same Bible that teaches us to have a foundation of male and female also reminds us that each person, not just male and female, has been created by God because of his creative genius to be unique in their personalities. So not only do you have male and female differences, but we have different personalities, demeanor, a skill set, gifts, how we process information, energy levels, passions. And I put here pretty much just all of our soul designs. When I use the word soul, it's who you are. As God breathed into air into your lungs, it's who you are, personality, passions, how you process. It's just this sense of that we are each unique in our individual makeup and how God has created us. And it's incumbent upon a marriage couple, when the two become one, you have chosen to bring in this unique person who is most likely very different from you. And it is absolutely a sinful idea, a selfish idea to tell somebody, why can't you just be normal like me? Because we all think we are individually normal. Here's what Psalms 139 says. I will give thanks to you because I am awesomely and wonderfully made. I love that translation, the New American Standard Bible, awesomely. I am made in an awesome way. Awesomely and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. We love that verse, those of us who know it, but have you ever thought about the fact that your spouse was made in a very creative way? That the makeup of your spouse is awesome because that's how God created him or her. And so we must understand when the two become one, we can delight in our diversity or work to destroy our God-given distinctions. So many people, once they get married, they want to try to change the other person. And again, I'm talking about God's creative genius distinctions. We're not talking about sinful things, but just who they are. We want to change who they are, but the reality is when you chose to say, I do, you chose to marry that person. Now you're going to get to know them very well, and some distinctions that maybe you didn't understand are going to rear their head, but you don't have to say rear their ugly head because it's not a sin to have distinctions, especially, again, because God has created it. So we don't want to destroy our distinctions. As a matter of fact, when the two become one in God's creative design, not only difference between male and female, but personality and personality, the reality is this: God will use your spouse, if you will let him, meaning God, let God will use your spouse to chip away the parts of your personality, of your demeanor that need to be refined. And we become refining to each other under the guise of the Holy Spirit. So let's look at real quick some possible distinctions. And these can be male or female. God, again, they're God designed. And when we think about personality, remember the personality that you married, for the most part, it can be refined. It's not going to change. Let's talk about it. Possible distinctions: introvert versus extrovert. My guess is most of us understand the difference. I don't have time to go into the differences. You can Google it, not now, but later if you don't understand introvert and extrovert. But this is a huge difference in my experience, especially in marriages that happen younger. You usually marry somebody who is opposite of you. When I got married to my wife, Kelly, as you can imagine, I'm an extreme extrovert. She was an introvert. She knew that going into it, but she had never really lived it until we have our honeymoon trip to Maui. We go to Maui. It's incredible. We're going to be there for a week. I actually won a free trip. That's a story for another time. It was incredible, all free. But we're in Maui, and it's wonderful. But the only person I knew on the whole island was her. I need more people. And so as we're doing our honeymoon and we're doing bike rides and going to the beach and snorkeling and all that kind of stuff, there was times she just wanted to chill and watch the ocean. I can look at the ocean about 5 minutes, I'm good. And so all of a sudden she discovered I have an extrovert, an extremely extroverted husband. And so while she laid on the beach, I was going cliff diving with the locals. I was talking to people. In a sense, I'm almost going down the resort, knocking on people's doors. Hey, I'm Kenny. Would you like to talk? Would you like to talk? Because it's just her and I, introverts and extroverts. But we need to understand this. An introvert that you marry will not become an extrovert. An extrovert will not become an introvert. That's just who they are. So in my experience, it's been so fun, because I've watched so many people and they get married and the guy marries the talkative girl. I mean, she's the cheerleader type. She's always involved. She's in every club. She talks. And he marries her because she's so excited, and she tries to draw us out, and she draws out kind of his quieter side. And it's amazing. And then he is shocked 5 months into it. Guess what? She still keeps talking. She's always got people over at the house. He just wants to chill. He just wants to hang out. It's introvert and extrovert. So if you hear you're single, you're not married yet, or you're going to get married again, remember, the person you marry, that is who you are going to marry. The wife who marries the quiet guy. He loves to kind of be by himself. He loves reading poetry. When he reads the Bible, his favorite book in the Bible is the book of Psalms. He just likes all the poetry. He likes all the Psalms. He's quiet. He's delicate. Guess what? As you marry him, guess what? He's always going to be quiet, maybe a little sophisticated. He's going to be a reader. He's never going to be the wild, crazy guy, because that's not his personality. And when we try to change, how come you don't want to have friends over? How come you're always reading? How come you like being by yourself? Then he says, why are you always trying to change me? We need to understand these distinctions. Introvert, extrovert. You have thinkers and feelers. How do you process information? But not only how do you process information, but how do you respond? Do you know there are people who process information fast. Other people, they process it very slow. And they process it slow. They make decisions slow. The decisions may end up being the same. One gets there a whole lot faster. And many times those two people married each other. Now, we talked about last week, women are more emotional. That's how God made them, using both hemispheres of their brain. But men can be feelers, and women can absolutely be thinkers. And many times, when the two have become one, you marry somebody who's opposite of you. So to get frustrated, to get angry, and respond poorly because you married a person who's a thinker, it just goes against what God has created him or her to be. Lastly, for today, possible distinctions. Perceived love. Perceived love, meaning how this person perceives it, feels it. And we talk about love here, we're using biblical love, agape type of love. You define love, again, this idea of your soul, right? It's emotional connection. How do you feel emotionally connected to somebody? Relational acceptance. That's the idea of love here. Intrinsic value. How do I feel valued by the person? Intimate commitment. How am I going to commit my most intimate self, mind, body, and soul to this person? This is the idea that we're talking about when I say perceived love. When I do premarital counseling, I always tell people, listen, I'm not here to convince you that you're in love. That's up to you. I'm here to give you some tools, some biblical tools to help you once you get past the erotic, fun, tingly love feelings, then you're going to have to understand what true love is. And we're so lucky in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 that Paul tells the church at Corinth, it gives them a great definition of love. Now we must understand, although many of us have this read at our wedding, the context here, because remember, context is important. Paul, this is not a marriage verse. He's talking about love with these new Christians in the churches at Corinth, and he's like, how should we respond to each other in fellowship? Now, absolutely, as he defines love, this is the type of love, Greek word agape, unconditional, godlike love. This is absolutely the love that we should have for our spouse, but we need to understand as I'm going through this, really, Paul says, as Christians, this is how we are to love each other in community in the church. So Paul says, if I speak human or angelic tongues but do not have love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I can move mountains but I do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions, and if I give over my body in order to boast, he's talking as a martyr, but do not have love, I gain nothing, because agape, God type of love, should inform every ministry we do at the church, how we treat people. That's what Paul is saying. And then he goes into the classic verse of defining what love is. And for today, I want you to think about, as I read, think about your marriage. If you're single, think about your friends or your kids or the people in your home team that you're supposed to be relating to in a Christ-like, selfless, sacrificial, unconditional love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It is not boastful. It is not arrogant. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not irritable. And it does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. True, biblical, selfless, sacrificial love. Because love is not a feeling. Love works. Not only does it work practically, but it's work. Because it's work to have biblical selflessness and sacrificial love and doing something else. We need to understand, in the Bible, love is not a feeling. It is an act of your will to serve and meet the other person's needs. Love is not a feeling. Thinking about marriage, but really in any relationship, but in the romantic love feelings are going to go up and down. Too many people, their marriage happiness goes up and down because they're riding the wave of love in a sense of feelings. So here I want to give us love language distinctions. I'm not going to give you a lot of details because in our day and age, you can Google, it's Dr. Gary Chapman. This will all be on our website. You can go watch it again. Gary Chapman has his 5 love languages. I'm going to hit them briefly, but really at the end, I want to walk us through how do we implement Christ-likeness once we understand that we all have different love languages. Now, when I talk about love languages, you're not going to find this in the Bible. But Chapman and other psychologists, Christian psychologists, who've done tons and tons of marriage counseling, they begin to look and see, and you can see it coming out of the scriptures. We're all different in how we perceive things, how we feel valued. Those things I talk about, defining love, is all different. And we need all 5, but there's one specifically, sometimes 2, that when my spouse is doing this, man, I feel loved. I have that intrinsic value. I'm ready to commit intimately. I know we're together. So here's the 5. I'm going to go fast. Again, you can always go back, and all this stuff's online. The book is 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Words of encouragement. These are verbal words. Some people, their love language literally is a language. It's verbal. This is the person who needs you to say on a regular basis, you look really nice today, and our motivations matter. You know, one of the things I really like about you is how you did this. When you did those things, it was incredible. And you were great at it, words of affirmation. You're such a great dad. Thank you for working and providing. And when you get home, the way you give extra attention to our kids, thank you for doing that. You know, it's been a tough week for you. I know it's been a tough week for you. There are not many moms who could have done all that you've done this week. Words of affirmation, taking the things they do, taking how they respond, and becoming verbal about it. You begin to coach up, in a sense, your spouse by reminding them in a verbal way what they are, what they've done, and how you feel about it. It's words of encouragement. There's also quality time. Time is given, and time is the price. And we know that many of us need our time. To give it away is priceless. And so when we give our spouse quality time, it's undivided attention. It's actually being together. In our younger days, marriage, we learned it, and it's been true all the way through, even with our family. We go on car drives. My wife loves car drives because in a car, especially long miles, I can't get out. I can't go anywhere. I'm just sitting there. Quality time. And do you understand? Quality time is this. Hey, tonight when we come home, there's no video games or sports. We're just going to sit on the back porch, pre-kids, post-kids, during kids. We're going to make sure it's just us. And we're going to spend time together. And you can say things. A lot of times you don't even have to talk, especially the person's an introvert, nonverbal. Meaning verbal, they don't need the words of affirmation, they can communicate. Although some introverts struggle, but neither here nor there. You're on the back porch, you're talking, you're sitting, you're spending time, and the person who is quality time, they feel that. Acts of service, it's exactly what it is. It is cleaning, mowing, making dinner, laundry, grocery shopping. It's anything. I feel, the person says, I feel loved when you do something for me that was on my list. It was something that I need to get done. It's something that I want to see done. And again, so the person who is acts of service typically is a relatively clean person, an organized person. They don't like dishes in the sink. And so when you come and you do something, it's an act of service. Could be cleaning his or her car, could be mowing, could be childcare. What you are serving them, especially if it's something that's kind of on their list to do. You are proving to them that you love them, not by the words you say, not by hanging out with them, but because you came home and you served. Physical touch. This is holding hands and hugs. It's absolutely in a non-sexual touching way. Because as we're going to see, our kids can also have this. But it's that intimacy by physical touch. So it's not just quality time, but we're actually hugging, holding, cuddling. It's a physical touch. I feel loved when you take time to connect with me through closeness of my senses of flesh to flesh. There's people who that's how God's wired them up. Receiving gifts. Chapman would say this. It's been my experience too. This is the smallest percentage. Thank God. Smallest percentage. But the receiving gifts is not always expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. It's cards, flowers. It can be cheap. But the idea is you took time and presented me with something tangible, that I really like. And again, it doesn't have anything to do so much with expenses. It's that you thought through it. We got married right at Christmas time. So my wife experienced what an extreme extrovert is really like on vacation. And I found out really quick that my wife's love language is not gifts. Our first Christmas together, right after our honeymoon, I bought her a brand new vacuum. She was not impressed. I was like, it's a nice vacuum. This is a vacuum that you can use. I bought her a vacuum. Why do you think I bought her a vacuum? What do you think my love language is? Vacuuming. But for her, it's like, a vacuum? You see, we're going to learn through all of these things. If your wife is a mother, I guess your mom is a mother, but for mothers, if their love language is receiving gifts, you better have bought something. Because it's Mother's Day, the expectation is there, and that's their love language. So does this make sense? We're going to kind of walk through how this works, but this is the idea again. We need all five, but I'm telling you, in my experience over so many doing weddings and seeing people in the ministries over the years, having been married 31 plus years, you can think you're speaking love to your spouse, but you may not be. Speaking of that, I do want to give a little bit of a parenting timeout. Listen, parents, children have been created with a love language. Make sure you discover it, and you better commit to speaking it daily, weekly. Figure out what your kids need. Figure out how they're going to feel valued in your home, how they're going to feel intimately loved and sacrificed for in your home. Same truth. Chapman has another book out, it's the 5 Love Languages of Children. You should pick that up if you are a parent. I want to give you some stories from 30 years in the front line of ministry. I've absolutely talked to so many people. It's the quality time husband. And he's been in his box of work. We talked about that last week. He's in his box of work. He has had a moment to really connect with his wife. He left early in the morning for a meeting. And when he gets home, he's feeling depleted in his love tank. We'll talk more about that. He's a quality of time guy. So when he comes home, he walks through the door. His acts of service wife has a baby in her arms. And she says, I'm glad you are here. Can you take care of Zoe here? And he's like, sure, I got Zoe. And then she says, listen, I'm going to start finishing up dinner. And then I want to make sure we get the playroom picked up. And then I want to make sure we get this vacuumed. And the bathroom seems like it needs to be cleaned. Can we do all of that? And the quality of time husband, he walks by the dishes in the sink all the time, doesn't even see them. Acts of service wife now wants her love language spoken, which is serving, doing. He's a quality of time. Can you see where the missing is going to be? 2.5 hours after he's gotten home, he's been at work all day in his box. Now he's at home with his wife. He wants to be in the home box, and he's got a quality time love language. And since he's been home, all they've done is done the dishes, vacuum, put kids to bed, checked email, and now the wife says, whoa, this is an incredible day. And she's ready for bed. He's like, we've spent no quality time. You see how you can miss each other? The gifts husband buys and provides. He's working all the time, maybe a little traveling involved, but he's always giving his wife gifts because he is a gift giver. We're going to see that we are more apt to give what it is that we need. So the gift-giving husband, he's really probably a gift-giving person. He likes gifts. And so he makes sure that his wife has a great car, a great house, great vacations. He pays for childcare. He does all of these things, but she's not a gift person. She's quality time. And 1, 2, 3 years into marriage, she pulls him aside and says, I don't feel like you love me. He's like, you see this house you're in, the car you're in, the clothes you have, the tennis racket I bought? I guess it's pickleball racket I just bought for you. She's like, how many times you've heard this? I don't care about the stuff. I want you. She's quality time. You see how you can be speaking a love language that you think you're connecting with, but you're not because you're not speaking that person's love language. This can also be challenging when it becomes negative. The words of affirmation husband only hears critical remarks. If you're a words of affirmation person, any gift we have, whatever our gift is, whatever language we want spoken, if the negative comes in, it's 10 times worse. So the words of affirmation husband, all he hears from his wife is critical things, critical. It's damaging to him because he's a words of affirmation person. Not only is he not getting the words of affirmation, but he's getting something negative spoken to him. The physical touch wife, who unfortunately is maybe knocked around or pushed around, brutal in itself, but for the person who longs for and needs intimate touch, security and safety and being held, the abuse is always wrong, but it's catastrophic. And so we think about these love language truths. I'm hoping that you're picking up. We need all 5. There's one that we really tune into. We are more apt to give. So I'm an acts of service, like through the roof, acts of service. So I'm always going to be more willing, and it comes more natural for me to be a doer, to just get stuff done. Whatever we are that we like, that's what we're most apt to do. Does that make sense? So what is your spouse's love language? We give, again, easier, what's more natural for us in the sense of when I want to speak my wife's love language, I want us to begin to use this tool to understand it's going to be sacrificial and selfless because maybe of the 5, whatever yours is that you really could care less about, if that's your spouse's number 1, you're going to spend a lot of time missing each other. Does that make sense? Whenever I do premarital counseling, first time we meet, I could know them or I don't know them, and I ask each one of them, hey, you could marry anybody. We're in America. You could marry anybody you want. Why'd you choose him or why'd you choose her? Without fail. In all my years of doing this, without fail, they will say something like this, well, look at her or him. She's beautiful. He's handsome. This is incredible. You see it? What's awesome? And then they go into something like this. He is so kind and compassionate, he makes me feel. When he or she does this, I feel. And so I remind them when they're done, because everybody says the same thing. And this quote here is gold. We get married for selfish reasons. We stayed married for selfless choices. Everybody gets married. It's just normal. Nobody marries somebody. You know, when I'm with him, he makes me feel like junk. I look great. We get married to people who make us feel, I feel good. I feel loved. He's going to be a great parent for my kids. It's me, mine, and I, which is normal. We get married for selfish reasons. We will only stay married for selfless choices. Nobody marries somebody that makes you feel stupid. But sometime in the marriage, that person begins to make you feel stupid or unwanted. So we all get married for selfish reasons. We stay married for selfless choices. And so with that, I want to have some fun. I heard so many of you said that our diagrams were helpful. So I've got a diagram here. We're talking about love languages. And so if you can imagine your heart, this is your heart, and you, in a sense, have a love tank. And as your spouse speaks your love language, your tank will then fill up. So we're all been born, and we have kids, and our kids need to have their tank filled up. But if we choose to get married, we now are not only responsible for one heart, we're responsible for two hearts, him and her. And as you can see over here, as our love tank, as I'm feeling loved, my tank fills up. And there's a few times when the tank is full. And this is kind of the dream. Maybe you had an incredible wedding, an incredible honeymoon, and when you get back from your honeymoon, you're like, I could never be more in love with you. This is incredible. And you're about as high up. That's the dream, right? It's incredible. And hopefully we have moments and times like that, but that ain't normal. Normal's kind of a little lower, and it's going to fluctuate up and down. Our tank gets full, and then it kind of depletes, and these get full again. You can also see over here, I put here in the danger zone. When I've met with couples who are thinking about separating, things are very difficult. They'll say something like this, I really don't even have any love for them. What they're talking about is the feeling, emotion, but they're also talking about their love tank is empty. And I will tell them, when your love tank gets down there, that's the danger zone. As we're going to see, because all of us, we want to feel intrinsically valued. We want to have a sense of connection and intimacy. We want to have this sense of love. And when it gets down to the danger zone, we immediately begin to blame the person that we got married to, because when the two became one, you are responsible, which is my next diagram. You can see here, he is responsible. And so in a sense, the two have become one. You now are linked up. And the guy over here, he's responsible to understand his wife's love language, and he's going to speak it. And as he speaks it, it fills her up. And as she is being filled up, she's more apt to speak his love language. So in a perfect marriage, when things are going really well, it is the sense of this cycle. I know who Christ is. I know who I am. I know who I've married. And so I'm going to speak their love language. I'm going to understand their distinctions. I'm not going to pull away at their distinctions. I'm not going to make fun of their distinctions. I'm not going to try to change their distinctions. I am going to fill my spouse up with love. And now it works well. And when it's working well, you'll still have some ups and downs. But here's something any of us who have been married for long know. When all of a sudden there's a clamp and the love is not going through, it is not cycling through, then all of a sudden we begin to understand, go to the next slide, that we're going to open up portals. Because here's something we need to understand. Nobody is going to go long feeling unloved. That's just true. So many people, I put up here, work. Why is he always working? Why did he take on another job? Why is he always at the office? Why is he always gone? Because at work, he is words of affirmation. His bosses always tell him how wonderful he is. He's always getting rewards. People are saying, but you're so smart, you're so this. So at work, someone is speaking his love language. Maybe when he shows up, the office is always clean. There's something going on there that he feels like somebody's doing something for him, so he feels loved, whatever his love language will be. So he will open up a portal, and he will begin to work more, because we all want to feel, and we're not going to stay low forever. But it could also be play. How come this guy is always playing golf? Why is she always with her friends? Why is she always here? Why? They're going to go and do things, again, because as I'm playing, something's happening. I feel valued. I feel good about myself. There's a words of affirmation. There's something happening. Does this make sense? So we're going to fill it up. Now, I've got it on both sides, because it could be for each person. Unfortunately, people open up the portal also, And many times it's not because they were looking for it. It's because the other person maybe wasn't even trying, but because of their natural gifting of how they speak love, there's somebody in the neighborhood, work, baseball tournament family, whatever, and all of a sudden they gravitate to that person of the opposite sex because that is filling them up. Do not allow your life, when the two become one, to get into the danger zone. Because we will open a portal and we will find something to fill us up. I could have put up there church. Some people get so involved in church because it's at church where they feel most loved. And so they get involved. So all of a sudden our love tanks are going down. We start looking for love in all the wrong places. And so what needs to happen? We go back over here. The only way this is going to happen, especially if you have a love tank low, is that we have to begin to have the choice, the will of Christ. We have to have a Christ-like love. Because here's the truth. Let's just get honest. We had Mom's Day, right? Parent-child dedication. You start having kids. In our economy, mom and dad are both working. And pretty soon, we're just roommates in the same house. We're a bystander at our own marriage. And we don't even think about it. We're not planning for it, but we wake up one day and one of us or both of us feel very low. Our love tank is low. And you'll say something like this: I have nothing left to give. I don't feel emotions for him or her anymore. And now we're going with the tingle feel, the emotional feel, which is true. I don't feel loved. I have nothing left to give. This is when the two become one and they're roommates, someone or maybe both are having a challenge. So what do you do? This whole marriage series is always going to drive you back to the Bible. It's always going to drive you back to Christ alone. Just like I said last week in the crazy chaos cycle, it is incumbent upon the man. And so I would say here, if neither one is willing to do it, men, man up. But ladies, you will stand before God too. And so it's in Christ. So when I have nothing left to give and my spouse is not meeting my needs, that's speaking my love language, and I have zero emotion, I got nothing left to give, this is when I get on my knees. This is when I'm reading my Bible. This is when I say Christ and Christ alone. And so God, I need you to give me strength beyond anything I can come up with. I'm going to be honest, my love tank with my spouse is empty. I need you to give me the strength. I need you to give me the will, the choice of my will, not going on feelings, but my will by the power of God. And so I'm going to give and speak my wife's love language or my husband's love language, not based on what they have done. They could be at the time not even deserving it in the sense of deserving because they're not giving you anything. So now through the power of Christ, I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask God through the power of the Holy Spirit to allow me to have Christ-like love. And then here's what happens. As you begin to do that, then all of a sudden the spouse, I'm going that way, so I'll say him to her. All of a sudden, she, because you're speaking her love language, even though you don't want to, even though you really don't understand it, but now you are, through the power of Christ, and all of a sudden, the danger zone, her levels start going up, and as her levels start going up, she absolutely, if you've been married for a while, she kind of knows what you like and need, and so now she's got a little something to give. Not much, but a little. You keep giving, and now she's got more to give. And then all of a sudden, she's giving. And now, which was the power of Christ, now she's giving. And you're feeling emotionally connected. You're feeling like you have this intimacy. You're feeling like you're being valued. Then guess what? Now your love tank's going up. And now it becomes more natural. And hopefully, if we all have the mind of Christ, the selflessness of Christ, the sacrifice of Christ, Christ through the power of the Holy Spirit, we begin to give and serve. Not because we're getting, because that's what we promise to do in our vows. It's what God has commanded. So wives over here, you're going to be giving that love language. You're going to be giving that respect. Husbands over here, you're speaking that love language. You're giving that provision. You're giving that Christ-like love. Now all of a sudden, both tanks are going up. Now it's more natural, and now we are acting back in love. Agape, biblical love. Friends, I want to encourage you, wherever you are in your marriage, make sure you understand your spouse's distinctions. Praise and honor them for that. Figure out what their love language is and start speaking it. Again, you can Google all this. You can look at everything. I would encourage, if you've never done this, you can watch it online with Dr. Gary Chapman. You can do all of these things and begin to speak love. Breathe life into your spouse, which would then bring life into your marriage. As we close in prayer, I also want to remind us that we are providing marriage mentors. We have experienced people who have had many years of marriage. They've been through the trials, they've been through the struggles, and they have said, hey, listen, if any couple, young or old, wants to meet with us, we will talk with them, walk with them, help them understand there is hope. Why? Because love, biblical love, never ends. God, we thank you for today. God, use this message to restore, to help, to breathe life back into all marriages who will do the hard work of really discovering who their spouse is and then speaking their love language, honoring for how you have created them. We ask it in your name. Amen.